Celebrities are a big part of culture, and they have the power to influence millions of people with not only their words, but their cooking. Which is why today I'm gonna be making and tasting the most popular celebrity recipes out there to determine which of these are actually worth making using the classic internet tier list. First off, I understand you're not professionals. I'm gonna go easy. I'm gonna be gentle. That doesn't mean I'm gonna be nice. And when we rank these, it is on a very simple list. At the bottom is an F. You ever received an F on some homework? Not good. An S being God tier. This is the highest it can be. I don't know that there will be many, if any, S's. There's only one way to find out. Snoop Dogg. I think he has a few viral recipes, but this one comes from his cookbook. First of all, I love Snoop Dogg. Second of all, the statements in this book are slightly confusing. Basically, he says, "This is for when you on some real player shit and ain't got time for that regular swine." I have no idea what that means. Wire rack on a sheet tray over either parchment or aluminum foil, bacon sliced, ideally thick. But first, you gotta make a little rub. Brown sugar, light, black pepper, and red pepper flakes. We're just gonna toss that together lightly. I mean, that's really it. Smells delightful. Obviously, we're making essentially caramel on this, so you wanna make sure it does not stick. This bacon is nice. Shout out to the pig. Our sugar mixture goes over the bacon. Who doesn't love a rub down, you know? I don't know what this has to do with being a billionaire, because I don't see anything in here about, like, you know, leveraging assets, taking loans out against your assets instead of having physical cash, because physical cash is obviously taxable. But if you have holdings of something, for example, into the oven, 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're gonna bake for 25 to 30 minutes. See you then. Billionaire time, let's go. Caramelized sugar on bacon. That's it, that's the tweet. All right, we're gonna let this cool, see if it gets crisp, then we'll taste. I mean, it's pretty good. Snoop Dogg did not invent this technique, but it is delicious, and when I eat it, it's kind of like you're eating little gemstones. Crispy crust on the outside, it's sweet, it's a little spicy. The experience of this is at an S level, but I have to give it an A because the other side does not have it. If the other side was equally as caramelized, this would be an S. I do want to clarify, this specifically did not state to put it on the other side. Step 3, lay the bacon slices on the rack, spread the brown sugar mixture evenly over the bacon, and then on to step 4, place baking sheet in the oven. It doesn't say spread half the brown sugar evenly over the bacon, flip, and spread on the other side. I would have personally, so it's a strong A for me. Good work, Snoop Dogg. Moving on. Kylie Jenner, we're making your ramen. But Khloe also has a ramen. This is gonna turn into a Khloe versus Kylie ramen battle, starting with Kylie. So we have boiling water, we have our ramen. This is a Sapporo Ichiban, Japanese style noodles and chicken flavored ramen into the boiling water. Cook our noodles according to package directions. Here I have a beaten egg, some garlic powder, and butter, and of course my flavor packet. She says she takes out half of the water, put it back on the stove, then you add in garlic powder, seasoning packet, whatever comes with your ramen, stir that in. It smells a little extra garlicky, I can like that. Then you're gonna drizzle in while working your noodles 1 beaten egg. I don't know how this is gonna go, but we're gonna do it. It immediately curdles, which I think is very gross. Then you add a nice knob of butter, cut off the heat, and stir your butter in. Now we're gonna plate and taste. Christ, that looks fucked. I went and double checked this recipe, and it does look similar. Here we go. Here's my take. It does taste good. I like the addition of the garlic. It's a little extra garlicky. Honestly, just the addition of the garlic and butter is enough. I'm not sure that the eggs added anything to it for me. Texturally, I'm not even really picking up the eggs when I'm eating this. Visually, I do not like it. But flavor-wise, texture-wise, they're actually kind of nice. I don't know if these will be an S tier, but I'm gonna give them a solid B tier. I would only change one small thing. Welcome to the new cooking breakdown. For everything that graded B or lower, we are going to give you the tidbits, tips, and cooking tricks / techniques to bring it to a place where it could be an A or even an S. So what you should do is remove 3/4 of the water first off. You want that water to cook down to almost nothing. You should just have basically a thick slurry left behind once the noodles are cooked through. Then you emulsify in the egg yolk, toss, toss, toss. Emulsify in the butter, toss, toss, toss. It really is the same process that Kylie was going for. It's just slightly different techniques so that the eggs don't curdle and turn into scrambled eggs, and instead it turns more into a carbonara. It's not an ingredient choice thing, it's just technique. Kylie was really close on this one. Moving on to the next. It's Khloe's turn. I like that this one's like a full-fledged recipe. Let's see how it does. Large pot, vegetable oil, heat on. Once the oil's hot, onion goes in. Get those coated in the oil. And she wants these cooked until brown. I like that. So I'm not gonna add salt yet. If you add salt now, they'll sweat more. It'll be harder for them to brown. Now, once your onions are browned, they get a little bit of char. We're going in with ginger, garlic, let that saute. And then immediately follow that with chicken stock. a lot of chicken stock, like an enormous amount of chicken stock. I feel like if I needed this much broth, I would have doubled the amount of allium ginger. I'm gonna bring this up to a boil. So once this comes to a boil, you reduce this to a simmer, and she says to let it simmer for 30 minutes. You're not gonna get much more flavor out of the aromatics in 30 minutes, but maybe it's a reduction tactic. So once your broth is done, you can add a little bit of vegetable oil, olive oil, whatever, to a pan. You're gonna add sliced mushrooms to that pan. You're gonna saute that over medium heat. All right, once your mushrooms are cooked, then you're gonna add a shitload of cooked chicken. Mix it together, followed by all of your broth, which you've simmered for 30 minutes. Then you're just gonna season this bad boy with a little bit of soy sauce, a little bit of sesame oil. To assemble this, you have cooked straight ramen noodles. She's suggesting that you use proper ramen noodles. Gonna go in, and you're gonna ladle in your broth. A little soft-boiled egg, some green onion, a little chili oil, and that is Khloe Kardashian's homemade ramen. It smells good. Now we try it. Broth test. It's nice. It doesn't taste a ton like ramen, but it's a nice sort of clean, salty, maybe close to a shio or a shoyu style broth. It tastes clean, it's flavorful, it's soul healing. Would I make this again? Yes. Is this ramen? Yes and no, but it does have a ramen feel. If you know what you're doing, it's gonna be incredible. I think the technique could be improved a little bit, but we came to a product that I think is worthy of a solid A tier. It's delicious, it's a real recipe. So that means that Khloe Kardashian wins the ramen battle. Congratulations, Khloe. Moving on. Gigi Hadid's pasta. It's a vodka pasta. I am very particular about how vodka pastas are made. She used orecchiette. Is it orecchiette or orecchiette? Let me know which one was right. Water coming up to a boil. You're gonna season aggressively with salt, almost as salty as the ocean. Next to it, I have another pan. Olive oil goes in, set to medium heat. Let that come up. We don't want this to be too hot because I'm actually sweating this, right? You're sort of letting it steam in its own juices. It's cooking lightly, no color. So we have garlic, we have shallot, a little bit of salt. Just gonna stir it, let that come up. Technically, this is supposedly the most viral recipe out of all of them. It better get a minimum of an A. All right, our water's almost at boil. Veg is softened. I'm going with my tomato paste. What we want to do is cook it as much as possible, basically until it's darkened. I'm gonna drop my orecchiette, whatever it is, into the boiling water, let that cook through. While that's going, I'm ready to add my vodka, but wait. Gigi does not add vodka because supposedly she didn't have it when she was making it, but she suggests to add it, so we will add it. Goes in, I'm gonna let that cook out. I want all the vodka gone. Okay, our vodka is cooked out. There's no liquid remaining, which means we're gonna go in with our heavy cream immediately. Stir that in. I do like how this looks. I'm gonna add my red pepper flakes, get that nice and spicy. Add a touch more salt, a little bit of fresh cracked black pepper. Our pasta is done. Take it out, pop it into our sauce. I'm letting that pasta water drip, drop, drizzle. Some butter. It looks very nice. Add a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano, a bit more salt. Put it on a plate, I don't care. Serve it however you want. As much or as little as you like. A little bit of fresh Parmigiano Reggiano on top. We're just gonna serve it how she did, and now we will rank it. Gigi, this better be your recipe because it's really good. Matter of fact, this is one of the better vodka pastas I've had in a while. I would like this to be a touch spicier. It's got the depth that I want in it. This is a strong, powerful A tier. I don't know that I can give this an S, but it's almost an S. Powerful A. Moving on. Lizzo. Apparently she has a vegan cheese taki. Okay, so you're gonna start with a Japanese sweet potato. Peel it, cut that bad boy into quarters, which means you start in half, then in half again, and then cut across those halves at about half-inch intervals. And then we boil this. Bibbidi bobbidi boiling. Water, little salt, and your Japanese sweet potato. Once they are boiled and soft, take them out. You can either use a spider or you can strain this liquid. I'm using a spider to reserve some of the water in case I need to adjust the consistency while I'm blending, which is what we'll do now. So into the blender goes your cooked Japanese sweet potato. Then we have some extra firm tofu, vegan cheese, raw onion, garlic. I think this is called cashew cheese, nutritional yeast, some sort of a habanero hot sauce. Then we use a little splash of our liquid to help loosen. Then we let her rip. A little salt to taste. All right, okay, it's done. Bowl, Takis. Takis are great, and if you've never had them before, you should. They're fantastic. Now, she kind of like pours it all over. I'm gonna use a spoon instead. Maybe I can kind of like make it look a little nicer. Yeah, that just doesn't look good. All right, time to taste. Yeah, I'm so excited. I've always really not liked any vegan cheese ever. We'll try this sauce by itself. The nacho cheese isn't necessarily bad. The flavor doesn't make sense to me. First off, tastes nothing like nacho cheese. But even if I take nacho cheese out of the equation, it's like a series of flavors I don't think I've ever tasted before. And I can't say that I love it. That said, maybe it makes sense with a taki. The Taki makes it good, which presents a problem, and I'll describe what that problem is. Number one, the Taki completely overwhelms the flavor. Whatever flavor was in this is absolutely nuked the second that you chew on this Taki. Immediately, all you taste is Taki. What I do like is sort of like the creamy, light sweetness you get from the sauce. But again, it wouldn't be good at all if it wasn't for the Takis. Takis are 95% of the experience, maybe 90. The nacho cheese, the actual recipe, is 10% of the experience. The Takis are an S. The sauce is like a D. But when combined, it becomes a C. Better than expected for a vegan cheese, I feel like. If you're vegan, this might be for you. Now, if we wanted this to be an all-around S, what would I do to make it better? Well, literally just make nacho cheese with like Velveeta. It's not vegan anymore. I don't give a f. My goal is to make things taste good, and it didn't taste good. Moving on. Betty White's wings. Wings in here, and then in here, brown sugar. I already like where this is going. Melted butter, a bit unusual, but I'm not against it. You know, chicken and butter, that goes well together. A little bit of mustard powder, soy sauce. Whisk all that together until it's relatively combined, and that's gonna go over your chicken. This marinade looks atrocious because all the butter just solidified, but it's fine, it'll melt in the oven, whatever. Massage that into the wings nicely. These get marinated overnight in the fridge. Wow, it's really been overnight. This hasn't been movie magic. Foil your marinated wings, a baking dish, which she specified. We're gonna get our foil, line said baking dish. I kind of like it though, because now I don't have to clean the baking dish. Line the baking sheet with the wings. It doesn't say to pat them dry. It doesn't say to do any of that. So I'm guessing these wings are not gonna be crisp whatsoever. Maybe that's not the goal. Maybe that's why they're good. Maybe they're sticky boys. I'm gonna create a little bit of space just so they don't boil in there. And then it says spoon over enough sauce to dampen the wings well. I have no clue what that means. So we'll just do that, which is all of it. This goes into an oven at 375 Fahrenheit or 190 Celsius for 1 hour. I'm trusting you, Betty. I believe in you. Now we wait. It has been an hour. These wings have been cracking. They look nice. These aren't really like the type of wings I was expecting. You know, I think I was expecting like a crispy wing. This seems more like a slow cooked wing. They're caramelized, they're brown. You can see a little bone jutting out. It might be really tender, who knows? I'm gonna let these cool, and then we're gonna try them. I'm really torn with this. First off, if I was presented these wings, I would eat them and I would like them. They are good. That said, they do feel like they're missing a little bit of something. The problem with this amount of cook time is I bet the flats really benefit from it, right? They're nice and fatty and gelatinous. They don't get dry, but the drumettes, they get pretty dry. They're tender and the skin is nice and sticky, so that kind of helps combat that. So if you were gonna do this, I would probably do it with just flats just because they're cooking so long. With that said, these are good. They're moist, they melt in your mouth. The brown sugar, the soy sauce, and the butter are definitely present and taste good. Unfortunately, I'm gonna give these a B tier. Respect and love to Betty White. These are tasty. This could be a great baseline to potentially an S tier recipe. So here's how I think you could make them better. The first thing I would look at is the marinade. I would just add more, you know, more depth of flavor. Add some spiciness like a chili oil or a chili paste. Maybe some allium, garlic, onion. Something just to diversify the flavor and make it a little more interesting for me personally. And the second thing I would do is turn the oven temperature down and treat this more of like a slow cook. That seems to be what she was going for with this, but I think a lower temperature would treat the wings a little bit more gently. They would be a little less dry, a little more moist. Then when it's done, finish with a little bit of fresh lemon zest, maybe some juice as well for some additional acidity to help balance the flavor. Moving on. Elvis Presley. We all know this one. The peanut butter bacon banana sandwich? Wrong! As usual, the internet is wrong. Believe it or not, I don't think there was ever any bacon. Matter of fact, in his family cookbook, there is no bacon. His bodyguard said there was no bacon. He had a personal cook who also said there was no bacon. So we will be basing this recipe off of how his personal cook made it. This is kind of a weird recipe, I'm not gonna lie, but you toast the bread first. While this is toasting, yourself a bowl, yourself a banana, then it goes into your bowl. Masher, you're just gonna mash that banana. You're essentially making like a banana paste. I'm not against it. It should be good. Once your bread is nice and toasted, you're gonna spread peanut butter on both sides. You're then going to take your banana puree, add that to one slice nicely, top it off. We're putting extra butter in the pan, borderline a shallow fry. We'll let this melt. Medium heat, keep it even, keep it nice, keep it tight. I find it a bit strange that we toasted it in a toaster before then toasting it in a pan with butter. I can't tell you why we did that. We got butter in a pan, melted, and we got our toasty boy. I'm being ever so gentle not to press it too much. Goes into the hot butter. We're just gonna let this toast a couple minutes. In a couple minutes, we're ready to flip. It does look nice. It's softened up the toast a little bit, soaked up a little of that butter. Butter's browning, looking nice. Now we're just gonna get this other side and we're gonna toast it equally. Then we will serve and taste. According to his cook, he ate this with a fork and knife. So I will as well. I mean, it looks good. Maybe there is something to this double toasting method. It is good. The outside is a shattering, perfectly crispy, melt in your mouth exterior. It's crunchy, it's moist, it's buttery, it's toasty. And then the inside. You know how like when you eat a peanut butter and banana sandwich, it kind of like sticks to the roof of your mouth and it's kind of nice until it's not. It gets a little bit annoying at some point. This prevents that. By mashing the banana, it's actually nice and moist. It's not dry. As much as I love Elvis Presley, this one for me is honestly a C tier. You know, toasted bread, bananas, peanut butter, that's it. It's good, but it's not like remarkable. So if you wanted to get this to an S tier, here's what I would do. This sandwich was pretty good, but I felt like it needed a little bit more sweetness. Maybe the copycat versions that aren't correct are slightly better. I would caramelize the bananas first off, then mash them, put that on the bread. And at that point, if you want more depth, honestly, I think Snoop Dogg's Billionaire Bacon would be really good in there. It's two musicians in one. I can't complain about that. They're both legends. And then last of all, toasting the bread. I don't know how I feel about the dry toast followed by the toasting in butter. I'm not sure I saw a significant benefit there. It made the bread more dry. So I would just toast it in the butter and call it a day. Softer, squishier, more textural for me personally. But that's just my personal preference. Now moving on. Rihanna. We all love Rihanna. This was detailed out in an Esquire magazine. Basically, the story is that she was cooking mac and cheese. Power went out. She had to do some things to make life good again. So we're making it. Boiling water. Okay, you're gonna season your water generously. You got elbow macaroni going in. Cook to the package directions. Al dente, okay? Now once this pasta's done, you'll cut off the heat. Reserve some of that pasta water. Drain that bad boy. Pasta goes back into the pot. You're gonna add grated onion, red bell pepper, and some green onion. Give that a little mix together. Okay, at this stage, you're going to add ketchup, mustard, and a Scotch bonnet hot sauce. Give that a little mix. So it says 2 pounds of cheese grated. A little bit at a time. We're gonna add our cheese, mix it in. I'm gonna use a little pasta water to help me out here. All right, we're still incorporating the cheese. That is as good as that's gonna get. All right, let's plate up, guys. Who's hungry? This supposedly originates from a Barbados dish that's supposed to be baked. I think there's a few other steps that might have been skipped in the making of this due to the power going out, so we're gonna give it a try. Granted, this is not the proper representation of that dish. This is a totally different dish at this point. It's legitimately actually not that bad. I was like really expecting this to be horrible. The onion and like vegetables sort of get cooked, so you're not getting that raw spicy onion flavor, which I thought I would, but they did get cooked from the hot pasta, so that helps. You taste the cheese, it's just not a cohesive flavor. The problem is, because this isn't emulsified, I imagine you'd probably put a roux in the traditional version. There's like cheese over here and noodle over here when you kind of want them to be together like in a mac and cheese. That said, it's not bad. Honestly, it's not the end of the world. Like, would I want to eat this again? Probably not. Due to the execution and the lack of emulsification, a C, but it could be capable of potentially upwards of an A with good technique. So how would you do that? So first thing I would do is make a roux and then make a roux-based cheese sauce. Then separately, I would take all the vegetables, cut them much smaller, saute them until very soft, and puree and fold them into that cheese sauce so it becomes one smooth, synchronous thing. Fold in your macaroni, maybe either omit or severely reduce the amount of mustard, ketchup, those kinds of things. Didn't really add a ton of noticeable flavor for me personally, but if you want to put them in, you totally can at that stage. And that would kind of be it. It's essentially a roux-based cheese sauce mac and cheese. It was pretty good. It would just be a lot better if it was one. Then at that stage, whatever else you want to add, you can add. Hot sauce, whatever. It's basically mac and cheese. Now on to the next one. Hailey Bieber pizza toast. I saw this one not too long ago. So anyway, you're gonna take some sourdough. You're gonna slice a nice, thick, hearty slice. Supposedly, Mrs. Bieber came up with this under the influence. We've all been there. She wanted to make a pizza. She had the ingredients, but wait, she didn't have any dough. She got some of this. Nice, thick piece right there. Bada bing, bada boom. A little bit of butter on this bad boy. Spread nicely. Then on the other side, same thing. You know, I don't know a lot of pizzas that start with butter, I will say. I don't mind it. I'm not Italian, I don't give a fuck. And then for some godforsaken reason, I get it. This is a very LA thing. A little bit of truffle oil. Truffle oil is not really truffle most of the time. It's a flavoring. It's not actually what truffle should be. My 2 cents, but we're gonna try it. So we're gonna go onto a griddle on medium heat and let that toast nicely. Come back to your cutting board. On top of that, some burrata di bufala. Nice little ball. Tear that bad boy open. 2 nice thick slices of tomato right on top. You're gonna dress these tomatoes too. I do like the way she's thinking. A little bit of salt. Okay, always salt your tomatoes. Hailey, are you watching? A little bit of olive oil and some lemon juice. And into the oven at 375 Fahrenheit. Once the tomatoes are slightly wilted, she puts more truffle oil on it. This stuff is really strong, so I would advise going very, very very, very light with this. A little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano on top, and then it goes back in the oven. It's done. I don't know that I like the way it looks, but the funny thing is there's almost a little bit of a storyline here. She said she did it under the influence, and I believe it. You can kind of see her decision-making process here, and I respect it, I gotta say. It's kind of like a, oh, I don't have any dough, but I got pizza ingredients, and then she's like, oh shit, I got this sourdough bread. I could probably just make a pizza on that. She put the burrata on there, and she's like, oh, it needs tomatoes. I forgot the tomato sauce. Oh, I have tomatoes. Okay, I'll put the tomato, this is cool. And I can put it in the oven and melt the cheese. And then I'll take it out and the cheese is melted. I was like, oh, forgot the parm. Okay, I'll put the parm on and then it's pizza. Oh man, wait, I forgot the marinara. You heat up some marinara, put it on the pizza, hit it with a little bit more parm, some oregano, some red pepper flakes, and that is what Hailey Bieber would call pizza toast. I actually like this one. So I'm gonna slice, plate, and we'll taste. Give a little bite. Okay, I gotta say, I wish the burrata was a little more cheese pulley. I think it's very dependent on the burrata brand you use. The flavor and the texture is really nice. It kind of tastes like pizza and it kind of doesn't. It's really its own thing. I would just be happy calling this some sort of just a toast. Without the truffle oil, it would be even better. I'm not a huge fan of truffle oil, but if you are, you'll probably love this. The fresh tomato on top gets hot. It's like juicy. It bursts in your mouth with flavor. It's sweet. It's a little acidic from the lemon juice. It's getting some salt action. This is delicious. I'm gonna give this a solid A+. I don't know that I would give this an S because this is not revolutionizing anything to me, but this is a powerful A. Great job, Hailey Bieber. Wonderful toast. I love it. Moving on. Abraham Lincoln. His wife was a baker, and he had quite the sweet tooth. Big bowl, sifter, chinois, whatever. Flour, baking powder. So you sift that into a big old bowl. Separate bowl. We're gonna get creamed up. I got a bigger bowl. It's easier to cream in a big bowl. They did not have electric beaters back then, but we do. But softened, I should clarify. Start creaming it up in there. Once that gets a little creamy, you're gonna add granulated sugar a little bit at a time and cream that into your butter. Third bowl. Now we're gonna whip some egg whites. I don't know why we didn't put the sugar in here, but whatever. Egg whites go in, stiff peak it up. All right, we got stiff peaks going on. That's stiff. Now we're gonna add some Milky Boys to our butter, a little bit at a time, low speed. We're gonna add our flour, a little bit at a time, help that incorporate. Our flour mixture is in. They request very finely chopped almonds, essentially into a meal. That's gonna go in, and then this all gets folded together. The batter's gonna be supposedly very thick. That's looking good. Now our egg whites go in. This is not how I would do this. It is coming together. Now, last of all, for some godforsaken reason, we're adding our vanilla extract at this stage, and there is no salt in the recipe. That will not go over well. Batter's done. We have a buttered, floured bundt cake pan. Your batter goes in. Spread it out. This goes into the oven for 1 hour. It's been an hour. It's done baking. We popped it out of the cake mold, and here it is. It smells actually very good. The finisher to this is a little bit of powdered sugar dusted on top. Make it look pretty, make it rain, make it snow. Feels very Christmassy almost. And now we taste. We're gonna slice this bundt cake nicely. It looks kind of like a pound cake. It also looks horrendously dry. I wanna get a little bit of the caramelized exterior as well as the soft interior, so I'm gonna cut myself the perfect little piece. Pretty good. Wow. I have one very good thing to say and one very bad thing to say. Here's the good thing. Texture is wonderful. It's surprisingly moist. It's not dry. It's got a great chew. The flavor there is super simple, but it's nice. It's buttery, it's light. The exterior is a little caramelized, chewy, yet soft. And yet the flavor is missing 50% of what it could be, which puts what could have been an A to a C. So what could have made this an S? Just add salt. That's it. I thought it was a great recipe. Just put fucking salt in it. Taylor Swift. She has a cookie recipe, and I'm actually very excited to try it. Now, this recipe actually originates from Joy the Baker, but T Swift took this recipe, modified it, added shy. I have a feeling this is gonna be good because Joy the Baker is fire. It begins with a stand mixer, paddle attachment, softened butter, in. Rip it. You're gonna beat it up, really creamify it. Now, this part I don't quite understand, but you add vegetable oil, which may or may not incorporate granulated sugar, beat that in, and powdered sugar, followed by several spices. I like this. We got things like ginger, cinnamon, cardamom, black pepper, nutmeg, allspice. All your spices go in. Then you're gonna add 1 egg, vanilla. Smells nice, smells good. Lower the speed, nice and low. And flour, let that beat it up. All right, that's pretty incorporated. So I'm gonna take this off of here. So once this comes out of the stand mixer, I'm just gonna give it one more little mix with my spat, make sure everything's nice and incorporated. Sometimes the stand mixer doesn't go all the way to the bottom. So once that's together, rest this in the freezer for 15 minutes. I got my refrigerated cookie dough right here. Sheet tray, I like to spray the sheet tray, then add the parchment. Why? Because it adheres. Nothing's gonna lift up and fold over it when it's baking. Then it says to scoop 1 tablespoon sized bad boy balls in 1
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You could probably do a little more, but I'm being a little conservative here because I don't know how much they're gonna spread. We're not done here. Cinnamon sugar. It's kind of like a sugar cookie vibe. You're gonna take these, give them a little roll in cinnamon sugar, and place back. Repeat with all of them. You're gonna press these out to a 1/4 inch thick. Cookies are pressed out. Now into the oven at 350 Fahrenheit. While that's baking, we're gonna make a quick little glaze. Powdered sugar goes into a bowl. Little sprinkle of freshly grated nutmeg, not too much. We're gonna reserve a little bit. Mix together, and then just a touch of milk, a little bit at a time, just so we can get the consistency right. Now this will go onto the cookies. We have our cooled cookies. We're gonna ice them. She puts a little dollop in the center, so that's what I'll do. If it were me icing these, I'd probably do like a little drizzle, but we're gonna do it T-Swift way. Another way you could make this look good would be to use a piping bag. If you just take a piping bag and go, you'll end up with perfect circles and it'll look great. Let's taste. They're pretty good, actually. I do have a problem with them. I think this comes down to the debate, chewy or crispy cookie. Now, I'm questioning if we overcook these, but we did follow the cooking time exactly. If these are a little more underbaked, they'd be chewier, a little gooier. They're more of a crispy, crumbly cookie. The flavor's there, the salt's there. I like the addition of the icing from a textural standpoint and a sweetness standpoint. It's a good cookie. I'm gonna give this a solid A tier. If these were a little more underbaked and then maybe a bit more chewy, I might give them an S tier, maybe. But for a general, like sort of snickerdoodle inspired cookie, A tier is really high for me. So Taylor Swift, good work. Moving on. The Rock. You know him, you love him. I certainly love him. This is one of the more known ones for me personally. It's his cheat meal, recovery day pancakes, coconut banana. I've never been a fan of coconut anything, but you know, if The Rock likes it, maybe I'll like it too. You start with one of these. I thought this was interesting. So they want the banana diced. I guess the goal with the dice is like, if you put it in the batter, you'll get little chunks as opposed to a puree, which might be nice. Get ourselves a big boy bowl. To this bowl, we're gonna add flour, baking powder, very basic pancake ingredients. We're gonna add sugar, salt, that's raw cane sugar, all right? I think The Rock would be a little healthy about this. Shredded coconut, big whisk for a big man. Now, separate bowl, got 2 little eggy boys, whisk together, and to that you're gonna add coconut milk, coconut water, regular milk, vanilla extract, coconut oil, melted, and melted butter. I like this. I like where this is going. There's a lot of stuff going on here. You got our flour mixture. Liquid goes into the dry. That seems like way too much liquid, I'm not gonna lie, but I have been wrong before. And last but not least, your diced banana from earlier, gently folded in. You want chunks of banana, but you don't want pureed banana. Kind of thickening a little from the coconut. I like this. Let's pull out the griddle. All right, we got a hot griddle, a little bit of oil, lube her up. We got a 1 cup ladle. I'm doing a big boy ladle right here. Now we wait 2 to 3 minutes. They should be ready to flip. Really should be done with a proper spatula, but I ain't gonna do it. I don't need a regular spatula. I never did. These are finishing up cooking. I'm gonna keep going. I want this to be stacked nice and tall, as if we were serving him right in front of our eyes. So to kick this off, we have peanut butter going on top, a thick schmear. I love that he does this ever since I was a little kid, actually. My older brother would put peanut butter on his pancakes, and I was always like, what the f? Why did nobody tell me about this? This is awesome. Peanut butter and maple syrup were meant to go together. Finishes with a sprinkling of brown sugar. We have The Rock's pancakes. These look stunning. So let's try this. The weight on this plate is insane. It's gotta be a solid 3-pounder. Holy f. There are many times I ask myself the question, is the hype real? This right here, the flavor, out of this world. The texture, quite literal perfection. The inside is so unbelievably moist. Not too sweet, not too salty, but a nice balance of salt in the actual batter. Everything melds together with the toasty peanut butter, the maple syrup. You can put other things on this. I think this is the greatest pancake I've ever made in my entire life. This is an S tier with a big fat juicy ass crown that says The Rock. Holy shit. Out of all the celebrity recipes that I had today, this is by far the greatest despite its simplicity, and it all came down to the technique of the pancake batter. Mr. Dwayne Johnson, whoever made this recipe, I will be making this again and again in the future. Out of any recipe you should make here, this is that recipe by far, and it shockingly is the easiest. How beautiful is that? You're welcome. Subscribe, goodbye, kiss somebody that you love.